All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the I Can Do This All Day podcast. I am Dan, the part-time Avenger. That is Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. It is time to light the music, or it's time to play the music, and it's time to light the lights. It's time to get things started on the I Can Do This All Day podcast, because we are here to talk about the Muppet Show tonight.
The Muppet Show just recently released on Disney Plus, featuring Sabrina Carpenter. Mark, are you a Sabrina Carpenter fan?
I am not a Sabrina Carpenter fan. I'm not a Sabrina Carpenter fan, but I do not celebrate her entire catalog by any means. I don't think I'm in the age demographic for Sabs, for SC, for the Carp. I don't think that's me. But I will tell you what I am a huge fan of, and that's the fucking Muppets.
What is your origin with the Muppets?
Much like many children of the 80s, I grew up on the Muppets. The Muppets taught me how to live, right? From Sesame Street to the Muppet Show to Muppet Babies to Muppet movies. I love some Muppets. I fuck with them puppets like nobody's business.
All right, you heard it here. Mark fucks puppets. So my origin with the Muppets is I did enjoy the Muppet Show, but not as much as Muppet Babies. Muppet Babies was, and probably is, my favorite cartoon ever. I don't get to watch it anymore because I think we've talked about this before on the podcast, to where like the licensing and the rights are just like all over the place because it had so much ridiculous famous IP that I don't think you can really have that show on anymore without paying royalties up the ass. So am I right on that one? Is that kind of what it is?
The Muppet Show is not available, or the OG Muppet Babies are not readily available. Somebody on this podcast may have a bootleg copy of all the seasons of the Muppet Babies, but I don't know who that could be. But it is not readily available. It's barely on YouTube, and you're very correct that it's the IP. Like, they used everything, and this was pre all these companies buying up the IP, and until Disney or Apple takes over the world, we won't get the Muppet Babies back, at least in that. There is a new version of the Muppet Babies. My son loves it. I tolerate it because at least it's Muppets. And they do bring in some characters, so he knows his Muppet characters from the new Muppet Babies and the Muppet Show and the Muppet movie. But, is a way in. And I'm all about a way into the Muppets.
So what do you think it is about the Muppets, and why do they still have this, I don't want to say popularity, because I don't think they're that popular anymore, but it keeps on coming back. Like you had the Jason Segel Muppets kind of reboot, and then obviously Seth Rogen is involved with this one. Like, what is it about the Muppets, and why does it keep happening? Like, of all things, like, you don't see stuff like Fraggle Rock being rebooted multiple times or with multiple movies. Like, what is it about the Muppets that make you think that that's the reason why they keep coming back? That's why they have these reboots, the movies, the TV shows.
So, first of all, Fraggle Rock absolutely has been rebooted and has brand new seasons on Apple. And I think a new, short film on Apple, too, like a holiday special. So, erroneous there, but that's okay. You're not as...
But let's
obsessed.
Be honest. No one gives a shit about Fraggle Rock. They're not on major
song
major
in TV history. The biggest earworm ever. But the Muppets just have this talent for ridiculosity, and it's always in positive. I think that the original Muppet Show and all of the Henson stuff that was done, when Jim Henson was still alive, just had this layered approach that spoke to all age groups, right? I mean, the original Muppet Show was one of the most popular shows on television in a primetime TV spot for years. And all they did was have a few guest stars and puppet sync to some songs. And they were just there. It just was an ever-present source of both funny and, I thought, wholesomeness while still being funny and still having a certain edge to it. And I don't think that the Muppets always talked to children either. I think that there was some really solid jokes for adults in it too, much like the Muppet movie, not the Jason Segel one, as well as the original and the other ones out there as well. I think that once the Walt Disney Company bought the Muppets, they also lost, some of the writers from Henson and like Jerry Jewell, who used to write all of the Muppet movies and was a big part of it. But there's so much nostalgia around the Muppets and so many people, multiple generations of people that have grown up with it and enjoy it, that I think it holds pretty strong. And I think Disney is doing a fair amount of stuff with it. There's been multiple attempted revisions or reboots of a show for the Muppets, but they've tried to tweak it and change it in the past. You know, whether it's Muppets Tonight or whether it's the Muppets in lowercase that tried to be like a multicam version of The Office. There's been Muppet projects that have constantly come. They're even bringing the Muppets into the theme parks again.
So the Muppets CD show is gone now, correct? Like I'm pretty sure
it was retired after like 20 some years, maybe closer to 30.
And you said they're bringing it back. They're
overlaying the Muppets on Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney World. So they took them out of there and they're moving it. And there's like underground rumors that once Villains Land is complete in Walt Disney World, they're going to move the Villainous show, which the theater for it is right by Rock and Roller Coaster in Hollywood Studios. They're going to move that show to Villains Land and reinstall something Muppet Vision there, because they did recapture a lot of the show from it. I mean, I don't know how many times you've seen Muppet Vision and in how many areas, but it was still pretty funny, even 30 years later almost.
It was solid. I enjoyed it. I mean, Muppets are such a huge part of my childhood to where I'm okay with it. However, I can understand as to like, there's a certain point to where even though it's from your childhood and you have fond memories, where you get to a certain age and you're just kind of like, okay, well, I guess it's not as great as I thought it was. Because think about it from just the Disney perspective, right? I mean, Winnie the Pooh, Peter Pan, that stuff is not necessarily relevant now. I mean, there's still some like Peter Pan reboots and stories and stuff, but at the same time, I don't think people are like knocking down doors like, I need more Winnie the Pooh, I need more Peter Pan. Like it just doesn't happen. And the Muppets have like a pretty long lifespan and they attract so many different ages. Whereas I don't know if Winnie the Pooh, I don't know if Peter Pan does the same thing. Peter Pan live action, sure, I guess you kind of have a little bit of that. But I don't know if it's as big of a property as the Muppets, even though the Muppets have a shorter lifespan in comparison to those.
Yeah, I think that you're talking about a single or IPs that are 50 years old before the Muppets even came around.
Yeah.
And then getting to something that's still more relevant and that can conform to present day in a very real way. For example, this new Muppet Show, which is the most, I would say, direct reboot of the original Muppet Show that ran in the late 70s and early 80s, like plugging Sabrina Carpenter, who is not somebody that I haven't dug into that music catalog, and I don't know if you have, in the past. It just fit, right? Bringing her in from a variety show perspective, and then bringing in, it was The Weeknd, I think that they did, that the Rats all sang in it, that Rizzo and Friends took on. I think that new music fit right in to what they've always done, which is present music with a little zany humor to it. And then, had a little skittiness in there, brought in the different characters and came to one, a few other songs. I think that the Muppets can translate modern. Maybe I just want the Muppets to translate modern because, my origin is one of love, right? And one of definitely one of my favorite IPs, along with Star Wars. I think that the Muppets are just something that I enjoy. And it's one of those things that is fun to watch with my son, and one of the children's properties that I'm okay with. It's like, hey, why don't we watch the Muppet Show or the Muppets? Like, let's not watch fucking Caillou or Cocomelon or any of that shit.
Yeah, not a fan of that stuff. But it's funny, like for Sabrina Carpenter, she was an executive producer along with Seth Rogen for this. So I'm wondering, like, how big of a Muppets fan was Sabrina Carpenter? And it's funny because Sabrina Carpenter, her live show and live performances this is going to sound stupid, but like it's kind of like a Muppet Show to where she has fun with it. And she kind of like yelps in the middle of performances and kind of does goofy stuff, kind of like how the Muppets do, and very much like Miss Piggy. So it's when she was talking about how she modeled her look after Miss Piggy, it totally makes sense to me because Sabrina Carpenter, when she's out on stage, that's exactly how she dresses, just like completely over the top, very Miss Piggy-ish. And, if Miss Piggy was a human, it might be Sabrina Carpenter, like that's kind of how she looks like. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I mean like she's got the same type of style and gravitas, but like a small package in comparison to Miss Piggy, who is just like the small little puppet. So yeah, I was down for it, and I felt like there was a lot of good energy. And my oldest son likes Sabrina Carpenter a lot, and my wife does, and I enjoy some of her music. I'm completely fine with it. There's no shame in admitting that I like some Sabrina Carpenter songs. But I was wondering, like, how is this really going to fit with the Muppets? And she did a very, very good job with it. I thought even her songs that she was singing, she had like really good alternate lyrics to make sure it was family friendly, and it fit the show. So I was all about it. But did you know anything else about the show before watching it?
I just had heard that they were going to do the Muppet Show, not that it was going to be a different version or anything, that they were going to try and be as respectful to the original version as possible, which I think they've really pulled off. The Sabrina Carpenter song they had in it was an earworm for sure. It wasn't something that turned me off from it, and it worked for the scene that they put into it. And then when they had her do a cover, when they had Sabrina Carpenter and Kermit do a cover of a Dolly and Kenny Rogers song, like, how great is that? It just fits with what the Muppet Show does and did.
I think it also plays just to Sabrina Carpenter's talent, like she can sing and she has like a great style and charisma about her, and it mixes well with these inanimate things, like not inanimate, but like, about these puppets. And like, I thought her reactions with them were very genuine. And I think that's something that the Muppet Show, and whether it's even on like Sesame Street, people have a very good interaction with these puppets. And it's gotta be because those puppeteers are freaking masters. They know how to get genuine reactions, and Sabrina Carpenter's a performer, so she knows what to do in situations like that. But not everyone can play off of a Muppet that great. But the skill of the puppeteers, the writing, the dialogue back and forth, that's what makes the magic. I think that's what makes it special, because I'm sure we've all seen something to where, you're talking to, or these actors are talking to something that's supposed to be there and it doesn't quite stick. But I don't think there was a single moment in the show to where I was like, ooh, yeah, she knows how to sing and she knows how to entertain, but she can't really interact with these Muppets. No point did I ever experience that. Kudos to the writing team and the production team for making such a good production out of this.
Well, I think that Sabrina Carpenter has acting chops. Like, my wife is a big Boy Meets World fan, so she watched through all of Girl Meets World, which Sabrina Carpenter
was she in it?
Yeah.
Oh, I had
she
no
was
idea
like
she was in it.
Yeah, she was the Sean of the Girl Meets World. And she was funny in it. Like, she has some acting chops.
Yeah, I mean, she's done acting before. She was in the reboot of Adventures of Babysitting. So it's not that like she hasn't acted before, but even actors, when they work with a puppeteer or something, it's not always the best. It's very apparent.
I mean, historically, the Muppets always played. To your point, like Sesame Street, the Muppets. Henson used to go on talk shows with the puppet, and people would be drawn into just talking to this thing on his hand. And he wouldn't ventriloquize it. He would, you could see his mouth moving and he would be doing it. And it just, there was a lot to be said about the puppet construction and the eye placement and just the general motion of the style of puppet that are Muppets that just people connected with. I've always enjoyed, like, I always fuck with puppets. Like, I'm in. Let's go.
I don't know if this necessarily applies to the episode, but do you want to give the listeners your version of the plot of this Muppet Show?
I mean, it was time to play the music and light the lights. That's it. They showed up. They set a bar to recreate what is the Muppet Show, and there was quality. There was reverence for the characters, and they brought back and had Easter eggs throughout for those deep cut Muppet fans. And they even ended it in a way that that was very, very respectful and a tip of the cap to the Henson group and to that original attempt to get a Muppet Show out. So I think that they stuck the landing with it. And I don't know that there was a plot to it. I think that it was as good of a variety half hour as I've seen in the last decade. And I want more. Like, keep going. Bring it back. You want to cancel Colbert and Kimmel and all these late night people? Fine. Give me the fucking Muppet Show.
Are there like things that are happening with this? Is it going to continue on, or was this kind of like a one and done or like a pilot type thing, and we'll see how it goes?
So my understanding is they made it as a special to just see how it did, to see if people would respond to it and watch it. For Disney Plus to kind of avoid putting a ton of money into something and then it just shitting the bed. Ironheart. So from what I've seen, and this came out 2 weeks ago now, at least as of the recording of this, they've had over 8 million views on it. Like, it is up there as far as number of people that have watched it and rewatched it. It aired live on ABC, I believe. Like, the half hour played live on television as well. So I think they see it as a possible multimodal show, not just Disney Plus, but airing on TV, also following up on Disney Plus. And then, like, it's ad supported as well then, not only in streaming, but on TV. And if they can show that it'll be like appointment television like we haven't seen in a long time, I think that they'll do great. I think that it'll come back. I think that they'll go out there and get the people. The challenge with it, right, is, I don't know how much you know about the history versus the present day, but when all of the Muppets were sold to Disney, that disconnected it from the Jim Henson Company. Though the Creature Shop is subcontracted to build puppets and stuff for them on many occasions, just like they work with the children's children's broadcasting network or whatever that does Sesame Street. It's not as in-house as it used to be, like where the Henson Company owned it. So there's a lot of, like red tape around it. Not red tape, but just a lot to get it going. And, they've got to contract the puppeteers that come in. Like, you still had the original Gonzo in this, Dave Goltz. You still had a lot of the original Muppet players, but they've also replaced some people over the years. Like, one of the biggest controversies of this is who's doing Kermit and who's doing it the way they're doing it, right? Because Steve Whitmire was released by Disney as Kermit a good number of years back after the Jason Segel movie. And for those of us that grew up on the Muppets, there's a certain voice that you have in your head for Kermit, like a sound. And I thought Steve Whitmire, after Jim Henson passed, like hit that timbre and brought that life to it. And I don't know that the current Kermit hits for me in that way, but it can't be, because Steve Whitmire has done what Steve Whitmire's done, and Jim Henson's not alive anymore. So the character has to carry on and evolve. That's my only real gripe with it, is the voice of Kermit's different, but it's always going to be different. It's a puppet. It's not supposed to be. I think they gave great respect to it, and I hope that the results that they got from it, all the reviews I've seen are outstanding. All the feedback online has been great. So I'm hoping that it continues. And they're talking about there's rumors about who could be the next guest star on it, or who could they line up to continue to do it. But
Cardi B.
I don't know.
Let's get Cardi B on there. I'd love to see her interact with the Muppets.
It would probably be pretty funny.
I will say, I'm going to go right to the Martha section, just because you brought it up already. The thing that Marthaed me the most is Kermit's voice.
Yeah.
I could do Kermit better than that person. And I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to do it now. But even my wife was like, yeah, you got a pretty good Kermit. Like, this guy, I don't really like him. And I thought I was just like being super picky, because there's a voice that you expect for Kermit the Frog. And that was not it at all. If anything, it was more like Fozzie Bear. It sounded more like Fozzie than Kermit to me. So that was a big, big problem, especially when he's supposed to be the focal point. He's the leader, and you don't have his voice down. Someone had to have said something like, hey, can we go and post and kind of like mess with his voice a little bit? Because it's not it.
So this is not a new argument from a Muppets perspective. Muppet fans have been saying this since Steve Whitmire stepped away in the mid 2010s, and Matt Vogel has done a good enough job, but people can hear it, right? And I think that it's funny, right? Because you've still got Dave Goltz. You've still got Bill Beretta still out there. Dave Goltz does Gonzo. Bill Beretta does Peppy the King Prawn. And there's always been changes to the people who are doing the Muppets, right? After Jim Henson died, people had to step in all over the place. And I think that there's good puppeteers doing it. It's just that Kermit voice. The Miss Piggy voice is still, the Miss Piggy, the Fozzie, they were all Frank Oz. And he's not doing the Muppets now, but the voices
sounds right.
are there. It sounds close enough. It does sound good. And I think that always happens in a recast, right? Essentially, it's a recast. And it's just like when, the Batman on anything animated, if it's not the guy you think it's supposed to be, it sounds a little different.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I feel like there's so many people that could do that voice that's what they ended up with. Like, he must just be like a great puppeteer. And I think that's the reason, I don't, not to discredit him. It's just, it's not my Kermit. And I was just really, really disappointed with the voice. And I was just like, kind of irked. I was like, should I do a voiceover of Kermit's lines on this show and just like release it and just get like feedback? Because I feel like, not patting myself on the back, but there's a million people out there, maybe not a million, maybe hundreds of people out there that could do a good Kermit the Frog voice. A better Kermit the Frog voice. And maybe, you know what? Like, if the person's such a great puppeteer, let him be the puppeteer and let someone else voice it. I know that kind of takes away some of the momentum and some of the magic of that, but at the same time, like, dude, we need to hear Kermit's voice, and that was not his voice.
Jim Henson's dead. So Kermit's real voice is not going to be there. And I have been irked by this for years, but have come to terms with the fact that, would I rather not see Kermit at all, or would I rather accept that it's not always going to be the same? And it's not the same writers. It's not the same performers in many cases. I'd mentioned Jerry Jewell earlier. He's also passed on. And Jerry Jewell was the heart of the writing for the Muppets, along with Jim and along with Frank Oz. And all of these people that shaped our childhood, like, a lot of those things are not recreatable. The Bert and Ernie that you and I grew up with are the same as Fozzie and Miss Piggy, right? Same puppeteers, same actors, same voice actors. A lot of that stuff that they did, a lot of that magic that we remember was improv, was just kind of found, and was part of this group of people, these people that worked together for 30 to 40 years since they were under 20, right? I'm obviously well learned on the Muppets. Like, I've read the Jim Henson biography. Like, I really enjoy, and it was a very formative part of my early learning. It's how I learned to read, right? You learn to read from the Muppets, from Sesame Street, at least. So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I don't want them to not do the Muppets because the voice isn't perfect. I can look past the voice because the heart of the show was there, and they didn't try and do too much. The Muppets show that they came out with that was very The Office-ish, they tried to do too much, and I think that's why it didn't work. But this had the heart. Please, you had a question.
What's the heart of the show? The
heart of the show is joy of music, right? And bringing that out, and just bringing some levity to, and not having anything that's like overly politically charged. Bring in some smiles and some silliness and some zaniness to it. And I think that they did that.
I like that. I like the fact that you say that. However, I guess I just disagree, because when I think of the Muppets, my own personal opinion, when I think of the Muppets, the heart is Kermit. So that's where I'm like, oh, when you said that, I was like, that's not my heart. Like, but I like your explanation of that, which is great. But that's where, like I said, that's the reason why it's Martha'd me so much, is that I think Kermit is the glue that holds it all together. And without that voice, I don't think it holds it together. And so that's where I'm just like, no, not me, Martha.
I think that if you look beyond Kermit, you see familiarity and the same passion and love. And that's what I'm there for, right? Like, we've gone so many years without anything new Muppets. And I would rather see new Muppet stuff bring that same level of energy together, see some funny stuff, as opposed to not. Like, I'd rather have it than not have it. And I wouldn't even say it's not perfect. It's just a subtle bit different. And, it's the same thing as, do I not want to watch basketball anymore because Michael Jordan isn't playing? Most of the time, but like, do I hate it because of that? Do I want them to stop the NBA? Jordan's done. No, because it has to go on. And too many things don't go on because an actor, ages out or you lose something. And I think the Muppets can carry on like Bond has carried on, right? It's the same thing. Like Daniel Craig's not Pierce Brosnan, who's not, Roger Moore, who's not Sean Connery, but it's the aura that's there. And I would rather the aura continue on than get what we're getting from like Indiana Jones and like a decrepit Harrison Ford. Like, just come on, recast it. Let's go. Not everybody can be Hugh Jackman.
I think with overall the show, when you were talking about the heart, so my personal opinion is it's Kermit, right? But I think the heart of this particular show is what I'm interested in hearing from you, and if you can do this all day. So when it comes to this version of the Muppet Show, Mark, can you do this all day?
I was so stoked that they were bringing this back out and had such a high expectation. And as you know, like things that are close to my heart, I normally shit on a new version of. And I'm disappointed in it. It doesn't meet the expectation that I have. And I could not feel any more opposite of my normal on this version of the Muppet Show, on this reboot or continuance of the Muppet Show. Like Muppet Show season 6, I'm here for it. I think it was respectful of the original. It had just enough tongue in cheek for me and kept that original feel and really went all out on the musical numbers and the amount of puppetry and just the quality was there for me. I can absolutely do this all day. I've watched it a few different times. Put it on in the background. It is on my I can do this all day list. I even love that they ended with Don't Stop Me Now as like a tongue-in-cheek way of saying, keep going, pay us to do more of these. Like it goes back to the original Muppet Show pilot where they got the guy at the end, the newscaster at the end that's saying, well, we need the Muppet Show. People are going to buy this. You should put this on TV. It was a subtle nod, and there was so much respect and reverence for it that I'm all for it. I thought Seth Rogen was going to fuck it up. He did not. There's a lot of love for the Muppets in this, and I'm all for it. I can do it all day. And I'm scared to ask you, because the Muppets bring me so much joy. Reflecting on the 2026 Muppet Show, Dan, can you do this all day?
I think there's a lot of great bright spots to this. And Sabrina Carpenter, as talented as she is, I was kind of skeptical, like, ooh, I wonder how this is going to go, because she has a different stage presence and what I was thinking in my head. But then as I was watching it, and her interacting with Miss Piggy was the best part of the show. I thought that was genuine. I thought, like, oh, now I have a little bit more insight to Sabrina Carpenter, because I feel like, yeah, she absolutely just modeled her look off of Miss Piggy. And it's so uncanny. Like, you look back at it now, hindsight is 2020. I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And I thought her performance was great. I thought the musical performances were great. God, was I Martha at Kermit's voice. And I have this thing with Fozzie where I didn't get enough of him. I don't think I could ever get enough Fozzie Bear. So that's where I was not Martha'd by it, but I was just disappointed. So I hope they do have some other things with him as more of like a presence going forward, if they do decide to make more shows, or maybe they only do it like, a few times a year or something like that. I'm okay with that. But can I do this all day? I don't think a lot of the jokes landed as much. So that's where I was like, ooh, have I hit an age to where I don't appreciate Muppet humor? But there's still a lot that I did. Statler and Waldorf, loved them. And they didn't miss a beat. They sounded the same. I thought it was great. Same type of humor. Miss Piggy, best part of the show. And usually I'm a Miss Piggy hater. Like, oh God, why does Miss Piggy need to just interject herself into everything? Like, that's how I always was when I was younger. Like, I just hated it. But I like it now, and she was the best part of the show because the familiarity was there, the voice was on point, and the overall presence, like the karate chop down the door and Kermit getting smashed underneath, like, was great. It was great. And I just feel like there was something missing, and it was the heart, and that's Kermit's voice. And so I hate to say it, but I can't do this all day because some of the jokes didn't hit, most of them did, but what I view as the heart of the Muppets, what I keep coming back for, what I loved and kind of mimicked was Kermit's voice. And so that's one of my impressions that I do, and I even sang for one of the days over Christmas break a few years back. I think it was actually on like New Year's Eve or something like that. I sang Rainbow Connection on karaoke to my youngest son in the voice of Kermit, holding a Kermit toy. And it was like the best time. Like I had such a good time doing it. And it seemed like he was so locked in to the Kermit the Frog doll that I was holding as I was singing it. I was like, oh, this is the best. I actually just watched it a few weeks ago, like before I watched this, to where it's like, that was one of my favorite things. And like, man, Kermit's awesome. And I can't think of Rainbow Connection without Kermit the Frog. So that's just like one of those things. Like that's the deep connection that I have with the Muppets. And it's something where like it wasn't there. So because of that, can't do it all day.
I'm interested to see if this Miss Piggy movie they're talking about being produced.
Oh, I didn't know
they
were doing something like that.
Yeah, supposedly Emma Stone and Jennifer Lawrence are like producing a Miss Piggy movie. So maybe you'll get your wish and just more Piggy because that's your favorite now.
But it's not though. I don't like Miss Piggy all that much.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, I don't know if I want a whole movie unless Gonzo's in it trying to hook up with her like the entire time. Like that's the only way that I'll watch it.
Gonzo's into chickens.
But you know what? In Muppet Babies, he'd always go after Piggy. And I loved every second of it. It's like I loved Gonzo in Muppet Babies. So, but either way, hey, it was a fun watch, and I just can't do it all day. I think if you are a Muppet fan, you should watch it. But if you're not a Muppet fan, I don't know if you're gonna really catch on to it. Like that's my thing. So as a whole, it is what it is. But that wraps it up for another episode of the I Can Do This All Day podcast. I am Dan the Part-Time Adventurer. That is Mark the Resident Jedi.
Hey, subscribe, tell Dan that he's wrong and that we want more of the Muppet Show. At I Can Do This All Day podcast on all of the socials. 5 stars to the new Muppet Show, just like you should get 5 stars to the I Can Do This All Day podcast.
See you next time, everyone.
It's not easy,